baby, listen to the speaker. No matter what, just say the word. I'm loving all I see.
Pop, Perswayable. What's going on? I don't know why I'm giggling. I'm just giggling. you know when you start laughing and then you can't stop laughing and then you're not laughing at anything? Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at right now. So a lot of this is just some random gameplay, rank mode, etc. Really just highlighting the effectiveness of what Dancer can and cannot do. I really like her kiting ability early game. Super dope. I really don't fear any hunter when I do use Dancer. I think that's one of her strongest points. Again, I think that she should be used for players who have a ping of 150 or higher, even 120. I would even say 120. 120 or higher. One of her strongest qualities is that ability to really secure that 60-second kite. And reviewing a lot of the footage from Call of Abyss, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of survivors who are having difficulty surviving. One of the biggest problems that I think with the current meta is the Mechanic and Mind's Eye. See, back in Season 1, Mechanic and Mind's Eye, they were really good characters, or Season 2. Season 1 with Mechanic, and then, a little bit later with Mind's Eye. Is that the hunters, really, you could kite them relatively easily. I mean, Spider wasn't buffed. Ripper wasn't buffed. Clown was a lot... all you really had was Clown and Geisha, right? So, a lot of these teammates, a lot of these teams, these power teams, a lot of the top competitors always had a coordinator or a mechanic. I'm sorry, a mechanic or a Mind's Eye. And really what we're seeing now is we're still seeing a lot of people clinging to that. And the premise of my argument is that by using a character like Mechanic or Mind's Eye, it's very, very dangerous because for a few reasons. One, Mechanic has been nerfed, right? Mechanic has been nerfed substantially. 2 or 3 times now. Actually, 3 times she's been nerfed. So what you have is you have a nerfed character who's no longer as powerful as what she used to be, right? So Season 1, she had an 8% global buff. Everybody decoded 6 seconds faster. That got nerfed to 3 seconds. Then her puppet got buffed to 125% decoding. She was at 135%, but then she got nerfed back down to 125% decoding on the same speed of her puppet. So you have a lot of players who are still clinging to the Mind's Eye and the Mechanic, but the problem is that the hunters are a lot more powerful. So again, the meta used to be that the survivors were worth playing because the hunters were relatively easy kiting. At the same time, you didn't really have all these overpowered characters. You had Perfumer for a little bit. You didn't really have Seer, so you didn't have as much of a buff with these survivors. So the hunters have been buffed substantially to catch up with all of the new survivors that have been released to balance the game out. Now, the reason why I'm explaining this is because it's going to be interesting to see what the results are with the Call of Abyss, because I really do think that, to a degree, if you want to play more conservatively, I just burped, it may be better to start deviating a little bit away from the Mechanic and the Mind's Eye and using characters such as the Dancer or top kiting characters. After doing an analysis of over 100 games, I should say actually around 60 or 70 games, what we have realized is that the biggest contributing factor to teams losing is early game. Now, let's go back to Season 1. Really, the only character that used to use teleport was the Geisha, right? Even when Feaster was used and Clown was used, Blink was a really top strategy. Actually, when Feaster was first released, it was actually the little patroller that was popular, okay? So you didn't really have a lot of teleporting characters. So all of this kind of mixtures into this weird sort of change in the meta where now people who are playing Mechanic and people who are playing Mind's Eye, they're dying a lot more frequently. They're not living as long, and the reason being so is that hunters are significantly more difficult to kite now, at least for a Mind's Eye and a Mechanic, because the hunters are a lot more challenged, and you can still do your job sufficiently enough with a Seer or a Perfumer, so it makes their job harder. And because of the hunter selection, you have more people with teleport, which means that you are more likely to be teleported on. And with a character like the Ripper or a character like any of them really, a lot of them are really powerful. So that's where I'm starting to contemplate whether the meta should be changing a little bit. Where, yeah, if you want to play Mechanic, if you want to play Mind's Eye, sure, but understand that they are truly now becoming real glass cannon characters, because there is a big challenge to using them. So that's why I've been exploring a lot with Dancer. I've been exploring a lot with Dancer because I'm trying to figure out, is it better to have characters that can guarantee you the early game advantage? Because a lot of people who are losing, they're losing because of the early game disadvantage. You also have a lot of players who die even before the Hunter decides to teleport on the Mechanic or the Mind's Eye, but even so, I'm not saying they should be phased out. Let me make that clear before anyone comments and says that I'm not saying they should be phased out. I'm just saying that people should start exploring what is the best character for my use. And this is where it gets a little complicated because your use is different from everybody else's. For instance, if I am a Mind's Eye, I can kite very well with a Mind's Eye, but I would prefer 60 ping. Your tight kiting is incredibly important. The looping is incredibly important. You don't have time to be caught on objects. You don't have time for the Hunter to be going through objects even briefly, which all happens at a high probability rate when you're talking about a ping above 100, even 80 to a degree. People have submitted me gameplay footage of Hunters briefly lapsing through objects at 80 ping. That's on their server. That's on the Hunter side. So, although that's not how the servers work. But either way, that's why I've been exploring with Dancer. My ping is garbage. Some people have ping that's way worse than mine. I feel bad for them. And you know what gets really annoying about talking about ping is that whenever you mention your ping, there's always somebody who tries to one-up you. Oh, well, my ping is worse. Well, great. And I'm sure it is. But at the end of the day, I know what it's like to be a top competitor with both 60 ping and 150 ping, right? And I can tell you that it's a big difference, especially on mobile, right? So that's where, playing characters like Dancer, sure, maybe there is theoretically a better meta. A better meta. Better meta, forget it, go get it. Maybe there is a better meta out there. But that doesn't mean that it's going to apply to you or apply to your skill set or apply to your strategy or even more importantly, your ping. Now, some of the things with Dancer that people need to realize is that Dancer's biggest threat is Ripper. And Ripper is her biggest threat only because of the rescues. The rescues is where it gets difficult because if the individual is in a rocket chair in an open map, it is very easy for the Ripper to hit you with his Foggy Blade. That's where it's better off for Seer to go for the rescue, Perfumer to go for the rescue, Mercenary to go for the rescue. And that's where people need to understand how to play with Dancer and play as Dancer. So if you don't want to ban Ripper and you want to ban Spider instead, then you guys need to take the responsibility of doing the main rescues, even with my decode debuff. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about some random thoughts about the meta, why I think Dancer is good in terms of her ability to really tight kite and rescue. And I hope you guys enjoyed the footage. It's a little bit more of a serious video with a little bit of an analysis. Hope you guys are having a good day. And this is kind of awkward. I don't know how to end the video, so I'm just going to say bye. Bye.